All right, welcome in everyone. Here back again with another episode of the Ninja Wealth Exchange. Today is episode 23, the rate trap. Should you stay or should you go? So with me, as always, is my co-host, Johnny. How you doing, Johnny?
Good, man. Good. It's nice to be back. It's I think we've been on a little bit of a vacation there, and so it's nice to just come back and be able to get back on with you.
Yeah, definitely. We have been taking a couple trips here. Just got back from our neighbors up north. Did you enjoy your trip?
Dude, Vancouver was awesome. It was nice to go out to EXP Vancouver. Um, Learned a ton. The way that they do business is a little bit different from how we do business here in the US. So it's good to take home some information from our Canadian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, definitely. No, Vancouver is definitely a must visit if you've never been. Kind of like Seattle, but a little bit different as well. But it was definitely interesting talking to a few Canadians on how their real estate works and mortgages, right? Definitely pretty
Mhm,
interesting,
mhm.
which we can talk about in a different episode, hopefully.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so here we are back with our topic here today. I don't know, have you been getting this question a lot from your clients as well? People who come to you with, "Hey, I got a really low rate and I don't know what I should do."
Yeah, I mean, I get it all the time, right? So it's really interesting because right now, because of what happened during the pandemic and what's happening right now with the rates being much higher, tons of people are coming and they're asking different types of questions and needing different types of help. And so, I think that you got to think outside the box a little bit in order to get yourself to a position um, where you'll know what to do, right, and make the right decisions.
Right. So, just kind of set the stage a little bit here. What we're talking about is homeowners currently right now, right, that are sitting on a 2 to 3% interest rate, right, that they might have gotten right around that COVID time, right? So about 2020, 2021, something like that, right? And the average cycle, every homeowner moves what, every 5 years, right?
Yeah, approximately 2 to 5 years. Yeah.
So, right. So we're right around that cycle right now, 2026. So, life happens, right? Their families grow. You have the 4 Ds, right? They call it the diapers, divorce, death. I'm missing one D. um, Maybe related to jobs. I don't know, but of course, life happens. People need to move, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes they may feel stuck. They may feel trapped because they're looking around at the current environment, right? The rates right now are what?
Closer to like 6.5 to 7%, depending on your credit score. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So anybody looking to move right now, I mean, potentially, if they sell their house to buy a new one, they could probably be paying more, right?
well, I mean, if they're buying in the same price range, they will absolutely be paying more. It's interesting because back when rates were like at 2.75, and I
Mhm.
know that there's a lot of people that locked in their rate at right around 2.75, 3%
Mhm.
on a $400,000 loan. That payment is about approximately 1630 a month, so $1,630 a month. However, if you're looking at today's interest rates with the same loan amount, you're going to be looking at approximately about like $1,000 more. You're going to be looking at approximately $2,660 a month, right? So
Wow.
it's significant. It's significant. So I can see why they call it the golden handcuffs, right?
Right, right. That's $1,000 more that you're currently paying right now.
Yeah.
Um, so very interesting dynamics, right?
Hmm, hmm.
with what's happening. So, and of course, in this episode, we're gonna get into what options do people have if they are in this situation right now, right? Where they need to move or they need to do something, right, to improve their living
Mhm.
situation. Of course, having a low rate is great, but if you're not happy with the house that you're in or the situation where your house is, then that's not really a great situation exactly as well. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is gonna feel like you're kind of in a trap, right? Like, for example, if you have a house, like a two-bedroom house that you bought when you first got married and your family's grown now, and you're looking at, look, if you bought the same house for the same price with the interest rate and you sold your current house, even if you get more bedrooms, right? You're gonna be looking at making a significant, like it might be a little bit of a downgrade because prices have gone up in like in house value, right? In addition to that, um you might get your bedrooms, but the thing is that you might be paying more too, like an additional $1,000. And so that's pretty, like it's a pretty significant jump when we're talking about doing some of those things. But yeah, we got different strategies here that we're going to be able to bring up that might be able to assist you in the process.
right, right. Okay, so let's get right into it here. Let's talk about these options, right? And so, right now, a lot of people are coming up to me, and they are really holding on to dear life with these rates, right? They're they're
Yeah.
like, no, they're not trying to give it up, right? Like no matter
Yeah.
what. So, you know, let's take a deeper evaluation. Is there more to it than just the rate?
Yeah, absolutely. The financial consideration, the financial aspect of the transaction is a big deal, right? Money is a big part of your marriage, big part of your the way that your lifestyle is and everything. However, it's not the only way, right? So, for example, if you're looking at some of the things um that you're going to experience, say for example, life changes, right? And you're like, your parents all of a sudden need to move back in with you, or you need to move back in with your parents because you got to take care of them. You're looking at, there's some reasons that are going to be way bigger than just making sure you got a low payment, right? So I think
Mm,
those are things that do matter a lot.
right, right, definitely. I mean, there are some things that come up in life that you just can't control, right? Like you mentioned, if you get sick or your parents get sick or something like that,
Mhm.
and you got to change your living situation. I mean, that's going to have a huge impact on your life. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and then of course, there's the other thing, right, with jobs that we mentioned earlier, and
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, right now jobs are not that great, right?
Well, I mean, so I'm hearing, like like, okay, so the majority of my friends, a portion of them got laid off. We're in the mortgage industry, right? AI's technology is kicking in, and I think that they don't need as many people because the interest rate has been increasing, which means that there's less refinances as well as less purchase business out there. There's just people that are not moving, and so like that's why we're having this specific podcast. Um, However, there are friends that are getting an increase in pay, right? They're let's say for example, they decreased the size of the business, but then they brought a bunch of different business lines onto your business as a manager, right? And now they're increasing your pay by about $50,000 a year. Well, if the monthly penalty that you're going to be paying is less than 50,000 a year, then you might want to consider making that move if you have to make that move for family reasons, right? Or for, like, let's say for example, if you're going to be moving to it, like there are jobs right now where they're moving their managements to a whole different state. Like I know that there's a lot of California companies that are moving out of California into a different state, and if they're giving you a pay raise, right, and the home value, say for example, if you're in California, your house is $1 million, right, and you're going to move down to Texas, right, and let's say Austin, Texas, where the price points aren't as high as California. Let's say 600,000 versus $1 million. You're going to be looking at bringing over some of that equity reducing the monthly payments by buying a lesser house, right? And so, I mean, it depends on your specific situation, right? Because everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. However, if the annual cost, right, is less than your raise or less than the difference of the payment, it might be a good idea to go ahead and make that move, relocate, right? And I think that that's, there's a possibility that it might only cost you an additional, $12,000 a month, um, or which comes out to, approximately, I don't know, what is that, 12 plus 14, 15,000, right? Might be an additional 15,000, but you get a $50,000 raise, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Um, it's gonna offset the expenses, and so
Yeah.
lifestyle is a big player.
No, definitely, definitely. And of course, like you mentioned, if you're moving from a place like California, where cost of
Mhm,
housing can be tremendously more expensive than places like Texas or the Midwest, I mean, that alone,
mhm,
there's
mhm.
going to be a lot of savings, even with the higher interest rate, right? Um, so yeah, that's definitely a great example. Um, what about like, I mean, unfortunately there are some bad news as well as for family, right?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
you know, divorce is pretty common these days, unfortunately, right? Um,
Yeah,
and then
definitely. I
yeah,
I think, like, if, in most cases when a divorce happens, it's not pretty, right? And so you have to figure out a way to move out, right? And so each of you will probably be moving to a different location, and then you got to figure out what to do with the property. And oftentimes it is to sell so that you both can move on with your life. And in situations like that, I mean, if you can agree to stay together, like okay, so I'm not pro divorce, right? I'm pro staying married. But if you end up in a divorce situation, you have to sell your house. Well, that's, a chapter that you have to close so that you can open up a new chapter, get your life together, and move on. And so you shouldn't let interest rates control, like, force you to live with someone that you no longer have a good relationship with, right? So
yeah, I don't think interest rates will be a part of that discussion. um, Uh, and then let's talk a little bit more deeply into families, right? People with young
uh
families, especially, right? Uh, there's a lot more costs involved in that, right? So, can you talk a little bit
oh
more of
yeah.
that?
Well, so I mean, there's a couple of situations happening right now, right? There are like millennials, for example, like people, like I'm at the I'm like one of the oldest millennials out there, right? But I can still be kind of qualified as millennial. I'm probably like the first year of the millennials, like where it begins. Well, like now, like so I'm throwing my age out there, right? I'm 45, and there's a lot of people that are, somewhere in the 35 to 45 range who's a millennial, where they're starting to have kids, right? And you're starting to have kids, plus you have parents who are retiring, or parents who are not in a position that can take care of themselves, and so they're moving back in with you, and you got to make sure you can take care of them in those kind of situations. Like, you're going to be losing your privacy, you're going to be thinking about changing school districts, you're going to be thinking about, like, there's a billion and one things that you have to think about, and you want to make sure your kids are taken care of, meaning, like, there's some situations where you're gonna move your parents back in so they can help you watch your kids, because health, like daycare is crazy expensive. I don't know if anyone has young kids these days, but if you do, like, it's crazy expensive. And sometimes if your parents aren't making the level of income that you already pay someone, like, it's better to have grandma, in my opinion, right? It's better to have grandma and grandpa take care of your child than to send them off to some stranger, even if they can, the for the most part, in most families, right, the love and care from grandparents is significantly better than if you were to take them to a daycare, right? So, um, you gotta make those changes, because of, you gotta make that move so that you can make everybody comfortable and have a decent lifestyle, be in the right neighborhood, in the right school system, uh, be close to the healthcare providers for your parents, be in an area where, you can stay together, right, and help each other out and reduce the cost of childcare, or whatever the case is. So there's a lot of reasons to make a move, right?
No, no. So that is very accurate right now. Um, you know, uh, especially a lot of families out there that have small children, whether just one. I mean, the childcare cost, like you said, is no joke. It's like a mortgage payment almost in itself every month. And then
It's
you have
no, it's
2 or
crazy right now, dude. It's crazy.
yeah, and then you have 2 or 3 and you're like, "Whoa." You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I mean, this is a very valid discussion. I mean, it's like you have to look beyond just the mortgage, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
like you said, school districts too, especially when you get to that point where it may be okay right now if your kids are younger, they're not going to school yet. But once
mhm.
they get to that school age, I mean, as we all know, I mean, not all school districts are created equal, right? So if you want the best education for your child, I mean, you have to most of the time move to that district, right, in order to get into it.
Yeah,
So yeah, so
absolutely.
there's definitely a lot of things besides just looking at the rate and the mortgage payments to this decision here. Um,
Mhm.
right. So let's talk about next the people who say, well, you know what, rates are kind of high right now. Let me just wait for them to come down, or I'll just wait it out. What could happen there?
Well, so I mean, you could wait for rates to come down with the assumption that you're going to be paying a lower monthly payment because of the rate. However, um, at least where I'm at, right here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, in Minnesota, and my assumption is as well as in Milwaukee, right, in many other locations. If you waited, demand's going to go up because the thing is that once interest rate falls, let's say it falls to 5.5%, you're going to be seeing the price of homes go up because everybody who's waiting just like you is going to be jumping right into the business, right, or into purchasing a home and wanting to go ahead and do a transaction at that point in time. The I mean, I think that that's like when you want to move, you want to make sure that you get the right deal. You can always refinance, but you can't always find the right deal, especially when prices increase due to interest rates. And I don't know about you, Laura, but for me, we expect that if rates fall down to 5.5% or even under, uh, like when earlier this year, rates fell below 6%, right?
Mhm,
And when that took place, everybody jumped back in the market, right?
mhm,
Right now, that because of all the different turmoils that we're going through in the current situation, rates have gone back up, and so you're seeing people pull back a little bit. But the thing is that now is usually when you jump in, right? Now is when you actually get the deals because nobody else is making the offers, and you can make offers that nobody else can make on homes and get deals that you can't get when everybody is looking at the same time you are. So, um, and you're like the thing is like everybody's like, oh, rates are going to come down, rates are going to come down. What if they go up? Now you got now you're in a whole different situation. And so my thoughts are is that don't let the rate stop you from making a move. You still have to live your life. And so uh it and the other thing is that just because rates come down, you think you can afford something doesn't mean that you can, because the demand will come in, and our when it comes to residential real estate, supply and demand controls the curve of what the prices are going to be like. So
mm. Yeah, those are definitely great points that, just to reiterate, uh, everybody and their brother is waiting for those rates to drop as well, right? Not just
mhm,
you, right?
mhm.
And
Yeah.
so everybody's gonna jump back in once they see the rates start to trend lower, which is gonna equal more competition and also drive
Mhm.
prices up because now
Yeah.
people have more buying power. They have money to throw around. That means overbidding.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be in a whole different type of problem situation, right? So,
I mean, we
uh,
saw it. We saw it during the COVID, when rates did drop, right?
mhm,
Like, I don't know if you remember, but some of my clients were offering like $50,000 over asking price because the interest rate was like 2.5%.
oh yeah,
And so I just think that, expect what has taken place in the past.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I saw that as well. But yeah, you're definitely right.
Mhm.
You have to live your life, and yeah, I mean, you can't really let their interest rates drive your decision whether you buy or not. live your life, and you can always refinance it later. But you can't refinance a bad situation or a bad location. So,
Right.
um, all right. So let's switch over to the person. Let's talk about the homeowner who has decided, you know what, moving is just out of the question. It doesn't make sense for their situation. What options do they have?
So, I mean, moving from house to house isn't always the first thing that you should do, right? You should also evaluate, your current situation, evaluate, uh, what it is that motivates you to make the decisions that you need to make, like whether it's a new bedroom or something like that. There are things that you can do, like renovate, right? You can renovate your house, you can improve your house, you can, work with the house and the property you already have, and invest money into that as well, right? um so my thoughts are is that one of the options, right, is like you can finish your basement, for example, right? If you have an unfinished basement and you slap an egress window on there and you put a bedroom downstairs, um the likelihood is that you're going to be increasing the value of your home, right, by doing that, and as well as expanding your house so that you can have more people be more comfortable, right? So
Mhm.
in order to fund that, we're going to be looking at different options, like different funding mechanisms, like what I would say is like a HELOC or a HELOAN. Yeah.
Right, right. And why is that important that they look at a HELOC or HE loan versus just doing a cash out refinance?
Well, so when you're in a HELOC or a HELOAN, right, you're taking out a brand new loan. So it's not like your current interest rate changes, right? So if you have a 2.7% interest rate on your first mortgage and you
Mhm,
don't want that to change, you don't have to do a cash out refinance, because if you do a cash out refinance, you're going to be taking out money as well as changing the actual rate of the current principal balance of the loan that you currently have out there.
mhm,
However, if you take a HELOC or HELOAN, then and HELOC meaning home equity line of credit, or HELOAN meaning home equity loan, then you're taking just the equity portion, and
mhm.
the new financing and the new interest rate is going to be just on that new portion that you take out. So, like in the recent years, home values have increased dramatically. So most Americans who have bought a home within the last 5 years, right, or 5 years or prior, they
Mhm.
have equity. So they have money that they can tap into if they, have the right debt to income ratios and so on. So when you look at that, um, you don't have to change your original loan. You can just grab a new term on the new portion that you actually use.
Got it, got it. So yeah, I mean that's a great point, especially for homeowners that are not interested in giving up their current mortgage with the super low interest rate that we're never going to see again. Um, Allows them to capitalize on their equity in their home to
Mhm.
renovate, to get that extra bedroom, get that extra bathroom.
Mhm.
Depending on the city you're in, you could also build a accessory dwelling unit, right? A ADU.
Yeah, yeah. So more recently, ADUs have become pretty popular, right? And so ADU meaning accessory dwelling unit. So it's basically a separate dwelling unit or a living unit that is on your property, meaning on the land that you currently own. So it
Mhm,
could be like another one bedroom, one bath unit that you build over your garage, right?
mhm,
And so if you're able to do something like that, you could uh, of course, contact your city and contact all the local authorities to make sure that the zoning is correct and you can actually do it, because not every city allows it. But I know here in St. Paul, they've come to allow it, and people are building homes on top of their garage so that they can have a mother-in-law suite so that
mhm,
their mom can come and live in there. And then what happens is, when they need that childcare, the mom just comes over, in the morning and takes care of the kids, make sure they go to school, as well as make sure to take care of the little ones while you go out and you work, right? So ADUs are great for that. In addition to that, if you build out an ADU, right, you can
mhm.
also generate more income too. So I think it's a win-win if you can build something like ADU.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. So, I mean, even if you don't need the extra space, but you're a savvy homeowner, investor, right?
Mhm.
Um, you have the equity and you want to add more value to your home. Why not take the equity out to build an ADU? Now you can have a potential rental property, whether you do a long term rental or maybe if you're in a great location, you can do an Airbnb, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's, sometimes it'll be empty, sometimes it'll be occupied, but it gives you options, right, to generate extra income.
Yeah, in addition to that, it increases the value of your property, right?
Oh, for sure.
So, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, yeah, and then of course, the landlord thing, right?
Mhm.
Is it really for everybody?
So, okay, so this is my honest opinion. I
Mhm.
think everybody should try it once. Right? I think you should try it, but it is not for everybody, right? If you already know that you don't like to manage people or manage their monthly payments, right? Or their finances, like, because sometimes you have to be like, "Hey, you're late. You got to make the payments."
Mhm,
Um, it's probably not for you. But if it so happens that, you don't mind doing that, you don't mind collecting rent, you don't mind doing analysis on the person who the tenant that's going to be coming in, making sure, they have decent credit, and their income is sufficient. Um, then you would do that with the current home that you have, keep your current home, have income coming in because you're renting out your home, and then when you go buy the new one, it doesn't hurt so much, right? Because you still have your mortgage that's 2.75% plus the new one, and the income from the current one is paying for the new one, right? So
mhm.
I think that's also a great way to start, investing. A lot of people talk about, like the Burr method. They talk
House
about
hacking.
flipping houses and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, house hacking and everything. But I think that most landlords actually come from situations where they bought a house and they didn't want to get rid of it because it still was a really, really good house. And so they decided to start renting it when they went to go buy the new one. And it just so happens they became a landlord because of that. And over the years, they build a large portfolio off of that. So I
Yeah,
think it's pretty
yeah.
cool.
The accidental landlord, we call it.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely not a bad way to get started to build your portfolio, right?
mhm,
Especially, we look at it this way, right? If you take out the equity you have, and let's say you have tons of equity, that'll cover the construction costs for your ADU. Now you can rent out that ADU to generate some income, and hopefully that'll cover a good portion of your current mortgage,
mhm.
plus whatever you borrowed out. And then potentially it opens up the door for you to also move out to get another property where now you can rent out after you leave, you can rent out your first property, right? That has
Mhm.
that super low interest rate. And then both of those properties are generating income, which will
Yep.
hopefully pay your new mortgage on your new place. And so now you could potentially be, living pretty good, right?
No. No,
So
absolutely.
we got some strategies here for you guys.
Mm.
For the people out there who are interested in tapping into their HELOC or HE loan, let's get into a little bit more detail about that. Um, what exactly is a HELOC? It's different than a fixed rate mortgage, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So a HELOC is definitely different. It's a line of credit, right? Which means you can use it similar to that of a credit card, right? You can write a check. I mean, even some of them comes with an actual card that you can actually swipe, right? So it just depends on who you go with, but um, it's a line of credit. The average, I think, transaction period for HELOC is about 10 years, right? The Where you can use and reuse and pay off and reuse, of course, right?
Mhm.
It's approximately 10 years. Like there's some that are only 3, some are only 5. Most of them are about 10 years. And then after the 10 years, what happens is the loan actually becomes rate term loan. Before that, it is a variable rate, right? So the rates will fluctuate based on the market. If you think interest rates are going to be going down, it might be a good option. If you think rates are going to be going up and you want to lock in the rate, then you probably want to use a different option. But a HELOC is actually really, really good, especially for us investors, because we're always diving into something. And then, like if you're flipping a house, you need that line of credit to be able to use really quick as you turn that property, put it back on the market, sell it for a profit, pay off your debt, and then, of course, you have the profit left, right? So now you can go and take that HELOC and do it on another house, right? So it's really nice. Plus, like a lot of my clients that are Airbnb guys, they do the same thing, right? So as you know, Airbnb makes or if you run it right, and if you're in the right place and you pick, the right location, and you make a really good profit. Let's say, for example, instead of making like on a traditional rental, you might make somewhere between 12 to 20,000 in profit, right? Where
Mm.
you could probably double that on an Airbnb. And say if you're able to double that, people are actually using that money, the difference, to pay off their HELOCs, right? So they use HELOCs going in for their down
Mhm.
payment, assuming your debt to income ratios are good. So of course you got to talk to your mortgage experts, right? um so they'll use the HELOC for the Airbnb, take the money that they make from the Airbnb to pay off the HELOC so they can turn around and get another Airbnb and do the same thing, right? So there's a lot of different strategies that you can use with the HELOC, and the HELOC is actually super beneficial over the time period that you have it, which they are 30-year terms, but the first 10 years is your flexible years, and then the after the 10 years, you're going to be looking at a fully amortized loan, unless you refinance it into another HELOC, right? So
Mm. Yep, yep. I just refinanced somebody else's HELOC with a new HELOC.
nice, nice,
Um,
nice.
all right, so let's talk about minimum payments. Or
Mhm.
what's the minimum payments on HELOCs that you see?
So every lender is a little bit different, but oftentimes it's an interest only payment, right?
Mm,
So you're going to be seeing a lesser payment on that. Of course, it's going to be based on your interest rate. So if you have a higher interest rate, you're going to be paying more, but you're going to be paying an interest only, and so it's going to be less because you're not paying that principal amount.
mhm,
Might be $200-300 less. It just depends on the loan amount that you have as well. But I think that it's really nice to be able to pay interest only and then pay the principal. Like, let's say, for example, at the end of the year, when you've calculated everything out and you got a little extra money and you want to pay it off, you
mhm.
can, right?
Right, right. So, like, another, interesting thing with HELOCs, right, is that, they're always calculating the payments based on the current balance, correct?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so there's a strategy out there that people actually use their HELOCs as their primary mortgage. And so, of course, you got to put more money in than you're taking out, but they use it as their checking account, right? And so their income automatically goes in, pays it off. So you're not paying interest on the amount that you've paid off. And then you get like a month's worth of cushion as you use the account again. Um, to reduce the amount of interest that you're actually paying, and they're paying their house off in like 15 years or less,
Mm,
which is really, really cool. I mean, I think that
yeah,
you can always make extra payments on your house and reduce it as well, but um you don't have that flexibility with a full term mortgage, because once you pay it off, you can't use that money anymore. It's gone, right? um or
right,
pay it down, right? But
yeah.
on a HELOC, you can actually re-extend it, so it's
Mm.
really nice.
So that's a very interesting strategy, which probably could be an entire episode in itself.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
do that one next time at a
Yeah.
future date.
Yeah.
Let's touch on HE loans real quick. So how is a HE loan different?
So a HE loan is actually a term loan, right? So a HE loan is actually a loan where there's a set term, so a set number of years that you have to pay it off by, a set interest rate that you're gonna get, right? And
Mhm.
so you're gonna have a set monthly payment as well, and it's usually includes a principal payment. It's not an interest only type payment
Okay.
or a balloon type where at the end of the term you have to pay the full amount, right? So
Mhm.
most of the times it's just like your first mortgage, but it's in addition to your first mortgage, which means you don't have to change the interest rate on your first mortgage to obtain it. Uh, but you can get a second loan, and those are really really nice because if you want a specific rate, if you think rates are going to continue to go up, then and you get a HE loan, then the likely chances is that your monthly payment's not going to change much, right? Whereas
Right.
if you got a HELOC, a line of
Mhm.
credit, it's a variable rate for the first 10 years, right? So,
Got it. Got it. Okay. So those are some very good points. Let's talk about loan amounts now. Um, how much can people take out?
so each program is a bit different. So like for example, if you're going to be doing a primary home,
Mhm.
it could be anywhere from 75% loan to value all the way to like 90% loan to value. And
Mm.
if you get lucky and you find one of those random little credit unions out there, you might even be able to get 100%. But as far as
Yeah.
I'm aware, they don't exist anymore. But like they might bring them back. I don't know. like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember back before COVID, there was a local bank by me that was giving out 110%.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean,
yeah.
I don't recommend that, but I mean, they do exist, right? I think 100% is pretty good. 110%, look, if you are good at making money, fine, right?
Yeah.
You can turn that around and make income from it, fine. But
Wow.
if you have trouble balancing your checkbook, I'd probably stay away from that one.
Okay. Okay. So, along with the loan amounts, right? How is that loan amount calculated? So you mentioned, 75 to 90% uh, of the loan value, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a bit different. Well, the first one and the first mortgage is already in place. So how does that factor in?
So you have to add that in, right, to the loan to value. They
Mhm,
call it the cumulative loan to value or CLTV.
mhm.
Say your house is worth $500,000 and you can take out 85%, right?
Okay.
So 85% of that is $425,000,
Mhm,
right? And let's say you owe 280,000, you would have to subtract that from the 425, which means that you only have 145,000 in equity. However, $145,000 is a really good down payment on another house or sufficient funds for you to be able to do some rehabs, right? So, but the thing is that your original mortgage doesn't change. It's just a new amount that you get to take out.
nice, nice. So hopefully that helps people to kind of get that math to understand and how that works. Let's talk about rates for both of these products. It might shock people a little bit. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What is
So the interest rates are the on these are going to be higher, right? So
Mhm.
don't assume that you're going to go in and you're going to get the 6.5% that everybody's getting on their first mortgages, or if they're a
Mhm.
first time home buyer, they're receiving, right? You're going to be looking at somewhere between, I think the last one I did was like 8%, right? So
Okay, that's really good.
uh, yeah, yeah, it's still pretty good, but I
That's
mean,
good.
it can be anywhere between 8% and like 13%. So it's
Mm,
gonna depend on your credit score. Like most lenders is gonna ask for a credit score above 680,
mhm.
but it's gonna depend on your credit score as well as your debt to income ratio, as well as the LTV, and there's a lot of different guidelines around it. But I think if you have equity, it doesn't hurt to talk to a loan officer about it and find out if you need to make that change, right?
Right, right. Um, and definitely, like you said, don't expect to get the same rates that you're seeing for normal home buyers, right?
Mm,
On these products, because a lot of the risk is that these are second lien position, right? So meaning that
mhm.
if you ever stop paying your house, your current first place mortgage gets gets paid first, right? So
Yeah.
whoever's in second lien position, the HELOC owner, the HE loan owner, they get whatever's left over if there's anything left over,
Mhm.
right? So that interest rate is going to be higher, and I've seen sticker shock from some clients where I gave them the HELOC rate, and they're like, whoa, 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 that's way too high. So
Yeah, then the question is, do you wanna do a cash out refinance and get out of that 2.5%?
correct, correct, right, right. That's the trade off. That's a trade off.
Yeah.
Um, But there's a balance, right? So there's a balance between that two high 3%, and then right now, I mean, the rates are about 6.5, and then you have your HELOCs and HE loans sitting at about 9ish, right? So
Mhm,
if
mhm,
you average it, I mean, right now, I mean, if you did a cash out refi, you'd be right in the middle, like around a 6, right?
mhm, mhm.
If you have the proper credit, things like that.
Right.
So you kind of have to evaluate, like, maybe that blended 6 average could work, right? Versus paying two mortgages, you just pay one at 6%, right? Um,
Mhm.
so you have to run the numbers, is what we're trying to say, right?
Absolutely. Or
Right.
know someone that will do it for you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. So we talked about rates, how to qualify, things like that. Um, Anything else that people should know about HELOCs?
About HELOCs, I think that
Or
kinda
HELOAN?
covers it. I mean, okay, so there is one thing I'd like to add.
Mhm.
If you're doing an investment property, right, we
Okay.
have the
Yep.
ability to do HELOCs on investment properties. Not It's not well advertised out there, so a lot of investors assume that you cannot. But if it's in your personal name and you want to come through and you have the debt to income ratio to qualify for a HELOC, which debt to income ratio is usually about 50%. And I think we've covered debt to income ratio calculations on previous ones. So, if you want to go back and take a look at how to calculate that, you can. But the thing is that if your debt to income ratio works, we can do up to 75% loan to value on investment properties. So if you have, let's say, for example, in the last 5 years, you bought five different investment properties and you're thinking, I want to buy some more investment properties, right? Before the interest rates come down and then I'll refinance them later. You can go out and get a home equity loan, right? And then you can use those home equity loans from the investment properties. And usually the investment properties, my hopes is that in the last 5 years, rates for um leases have gone up, right? Rental rates have gone up. And so if they've gone up, then you can cover more. So as long as it covers itself, right? That's usually kind of what I tell my investment clients, is that as long as the monthly payment covers itself, then it gives you a little bit of wiggle room so that you can go ahead and use that money from the HELOC to be able to purchase a new property that will produce income, right? And your net profit has to be good, right? So when you're going to go buy a new one, make sure, like the old one, if it can pay for itself, the new one has to make a profit, a net profit. Like my recommendation is, somewhere between 200 to $500 per door, right? So
Mhm.
that's just a thought out there. I just want to make sure I put that out there so that the investors that are listening to this actually knows that they can actually take out a home equity loan on their investment properties as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a very important point. I mean, quite honestly, I think that's just a more recent lenders are offering that, right?
Hmm, hmm.
Couple years ago, I mean, everybody I was
No one
asking,
did it.
no one did HELOCs on investment properties that you don't live in, right? Uh,
Right.
if you own or occupy like a duplex, it's still considered your primary residence, right? So you could do it,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
But yeah, no, I have a number of lenders available as well. I have one that it's actually they can actually do a HELOC on if you hold it in an LLC versus a personal name.
Oh,
Uh,
nice,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So that's available. And then the other day, someone was asking me like, "Hey, can I do a HELOC on a bunch of properties that are inside a portfolio?" And I did some digging, and apparently you can you can pull HELOCs on properties that are within a portfolio loan. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, wow, pretty surprising.
You're gonna have to fill me in on that one because that's news to me. I've never heard of that one before, but I have to
Yeah.
believe that the products are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. Nowadays with all these non-QM products, I mean, of course, the rates may not be as attractive, but for most
Mhm,
people,
mhm,
but the options are out there, right? Especially if you've got a ton of equity gain and you got plans to make more money.
mhm,
So
mhm,
all right. So we covered, you know, for people who want to stay, right? They
mhm.
can't, moving is not an option. Now let's talk about people who like, hey, you know what? I'm ready to move. Um, Obviously the traditional route is they just sell their house, right? Take their gains and they go buy a new house, right? Um, and then you talked about the HELOC thing, I mean, obviously, if you have a HELOC and you have equity, you can also use that to use as a down payment on your new property, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Mm. And then we talked a little bit about being an investor, going the investor route, right?
mhm,
Keep the house, right? Keep that low mortgage, turn it into a investment property, a rental, Airbnb, whatever you want to do,
mhm.
right?
Yep.
Um, can you talk a little bit about that as far as how does the taxes work if they ever decide to sell after you do that, like capital gains?
So I think from a capital gains, and I'm not a CPA or a tax advisor, right? But from what I do know is that, like if you've spent the last like I think 2 to 3 years in the property in the last 5 years, right? And you sell it, you don't actually get charged the capital gains as if it's an investment property. However, after that, right? Um, if you haven't stayed in the like, let's say if you've never stayed in the house, right? Or let's say you stayed in it 10 years ago and you've been renting it out since, you're going to be charged capital gains on it just like how it was if you bought it as an investment property. So I can't get into the percentages because everybody's, tax percentage is going to be different, but you will be paying for capital gains if it turns into an investment property. So my recommendation is, you could move back into the house for a few years. But if you decide you don't want to do something like that, then you're just going to have to take the hit, right? Unless you want to do what's called a 1031 exchange and purchase something bigger, right?
Right, and we have another episode where we talked about 1031 exchange, right?
Hmm,
So if
hmm.
you want to learn about that, go give that one a watch.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely you want to talk to your CPA about capital gains. That might be something that influences your decision whether you want to keep it and then rent it out. Um,
Hmm,
we did have another investor on our podcast that talked about he was renting it for a long, long time, number of years, and he might be moving back into his property so that he can
hmm.
get ready to sell it, right? So he can avoid the capital gains. So
Yep.
that's pretty interesting.
Most
So,
people don't. Most people don't move back into it because it's usually a smaller unit. But if you let's say for example you get divorced, right, and you didn't have any kids, well, it wouldn't hurt to move back into it.
right, and who knows? I mean, especially if the area is still good, location's still good. I mean, why
Mhm,
not, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
I mean, that's one of the perks of buying a property and just holding on to it, right? You never know what's going to happen as far as appreciation goes and gentrification and all these all these good things that could happen. Of course, the opposite could happen as well.
Mhm,
So, all right, so let's shift some gears here a little bit to like a lightning round of questions for you, just to ask you some questions that some of our potential listeners might have here. So, first question here. Um, if they're a person, I think we kind of addressed this a little bit already, but what
mhm.
if the rates dropped to 5.5% in the next year or two? Should they wait or should they make the move now?
Yeah, my opinion on this is, dude, if you find that house or if you find that property that you want and it's at a good price, I think you should just jump on it because we can't control the rates. We don't know where they're going to go. We don't I mean, you might be able to say, we've been watching interest rates and the feds have said this and that, but even the feds don't know, right? Like they didn't expect interest rates to jump up this year. We went from 6% to 6.5, right? No one expected that. And so you just don't know. So I think that if you need to make a life change, right, because of your life scenario, and it's going to be better for you, your family, those that are close around you, your friends, um, from a lifestyle perspective, and you can afford it, go ahead and just make the change. Make the change, and later on, when rates are a little bit better, you can refinance. If rates never get better, at least you fixed you put a fix on it, and you're good to go. Now, if you don't think you're going to stay there very long, well, lenders have different options, right? So what I mean by that is that, both Laura and I are loan originators, right? And being loan originators, we know that, hey, if I have a client, he's moved here every 5 years, he moves because his employer needs him to move. say for example, they're in the military, right? We're not going to put him into like, and every time he wants to sell the house, right? We're not going to put him into a fixed 30-year. We're going to put him into some kind of an arm loan, maybe a 10-year arm, maybe a 7-year arm, where they have a fixed portion, and then the interest rate is going to be cheaper for them. There's a bunch of different options, and I think that you should just go ahead and make the decision and make it happen before interest rates do drop and the cost of you know homes just increase dramatically, where you get what is it, locked in where you can't even buy a house anymore, right?
Mhm.
So I think that if you can jump in now, and there's a lot of different down payment assistance programs out there right now. So sometimes you can get in with just putting $1,000 down on the house. And if you're a VA person, right? So like I've done clients where if you're a veteran, and you have your DD 214 and it says that you're eligible for the certificate of eligibility, where you can get a house and the VA is gonna insure it, you can get 100% financing, which means that if you can negotiate the sellers to pay for your closing costs, you might come in with nothing. You might even receive cash at closing, right? Like, for all we know. So there's a lot of
Right.
different things that you should look at.
Right, right. So, yeah, just to kind of recap, like instead of just putting your life on hold,
Mhm,
watching the outcome of all the Fed meetings and trying to guess where interest rates are going to go, go ahead if you can afford it, right? Pull the trigger, make the decision, and live your life, right? If rates go down, refi. If they go up, well, at least you got in a good rate position. And of course, now you're also benefiting in the appreciation factor, right?
mhm,
Versus
mhm,
just staying in a holding pattern and not benefiting from future appreciation, right? Like you said,
mhm,
you could get outpriced later, right? Um, People always talk about, hey, our rate's going to go down, but then the question that not a lot of people ask is, hey, do you think prices are going to go down?
mhm.
What do you think about what's the likelihood of prices going down?
You know, a lot has to happen for prices to go down. And my expectation is that in the next like 10 years, we're just gonna see
Hmm.
prices go up. And, like, um, I just right now, my crystal ball, right, which is, Fugazi is made up, right? So my crystal ball says that, we're not going to see it anytime soon, that home prices are going to continue to increase. Even if supply balances out, home prices
Hmm.
will still increase because the cost of building homes continues to increase, right? So that's my 2 cents on that. What do you think?
No, I'm kind of a complete agreement. I mean, you look at historical prices, values of homes, right?
Mhm,
There's only been a couple times where prices drop, and
mhm,
basically, the last crash was the last time in the last major time that we had a significant price correction, right? Uh,
mhm,
but beyond that, I mean, even all the other real estate crashes, I mean, they were just more minor corrections, and then everything went back to business as normal. Um, Historically, prices just keep going up, right? Same thing with price of goods, right? Um, like people tell you, oh, hey, cost of energy is going up because
mhm.
X whatever reason. Well, when that cost of energy comes back down, the price of that product doesn't necessarily come back down, right?
No, it doesn't.
Right, and so it
It's like
becomes the new
eggs.
normal.
Eggs are
Yeah,
super expensive these days.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and so yeah, I think it's the new normal now.
mhm,
We're it's the new baseline, right? People just
yeah,
have to adjust for it. And the only thing we can hope is that wages go up as well, and interest rates kind of come down a little bit to make help keep things in balance, right? So
yeah. Can I add something?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So the last crash, was the last major crash was back in 2008, 2009, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
Um, Back in those days, they didn't have as many policies as they have today. And so this is one of my reasons why I don't think prices are gonna come down.
Okay.
Um when because I was in business back in those days, right? I was already in the mortgage business. I've been in the mortgage business since 2001. And so I saw 2008 and 2009 happen. In fact, like back in those days, we did loans for 125%. Earlier you were talking about 110%. We did 125%, which is
Wow.
ridiculous. People are getting money at closing, right?
Wow.
Um, yeah. So in 2008, 2009, what happened was when everybody went to foreclosure, when I say everybody, I mean like, it was only like maybe 3 to 5% of the population went into foreclosure.
Mhm.
The banks threw all the houses on the market right away,
Mm,
meaning they saturated and the supply, they said they saturated the market with supply. And so the supply and demand curve dramatically changed, right?
mm,
Where there was so much supply that people didn't want to offer asking price for it anymore. They were like, the banks are, just dropping these like flies. So we're just gonna pick it up when it's super dirt cheap.
mhm.
Well, that won't ever happen again because policies have been put in place where banks are not allowed to toss every single foreclosure onto the market like they did back in 2008,
Oh,
2009. They're
okay.
required to trickle it out. And so they might have foreclosure on their books for like 5 years. That being said, because they're controlling supply, I just don't see it. I don't see prices coming down.
Mm,
Even if we had
interesting.
something major like a foreclosure devastation take place. And the policies are in place. The lending became more strict, which means people had to put more money down, as well as
Mhm.
people had to qualify better. Back in the days, you used to do like 55% debt to income ratio,
Wow.
which I feel like we're kind of moving towards that direction again because prices of homes just gone so high. But the
Yeah.
honest truth is that there's better policies out there that's protecting us from another major crash in real estate. So,
Right, right. Well, which is, kinda interesting, right? So all these, tighter restrictions came about because of the crash, these, the
mhm,
SAFE
mhm.
exam, the MLO, all these licenses that we need now.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
all that came about because of the crash and the lending practices before.
Mhm,
Um, but then recently, in the recent months, right, the administration, uh, wanted, you know, the what is it? The requirements, the borrowing requirements to be loosened up a little bit.
dude, we used to call it courageous underwriting back in the days. Can you
Courageous.
imagine that courageous underwriting? That's I don't
Interesting.
know. Like
Interesting.
underwriting should be underwriting. There's a reason. There's a reason behind it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, nowadays it is pretty tough for borrowers to qualify.
Mhm,
And not only just the qualification financial portion, underwriting portion, but even insurance, right? Insurance is crazy these
mhm.
days.
It
Um,
is. It is.
with their conditions they require for roofs, right? And
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's kind of crazy. Um, all right, let's move on to our next question.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, all right, so here, potential client asks, hey, my house has appreciated 200,000, right? Since I have $200,000 in equity, right? Since I bought it in 2020, right?
Mhm.
Um, how do I leverage this so I can move?
So there's two ways you can leverage it, right? One, you can tap into a home equity or a home equity line of credit or home equity loan, right? HELOC or HELOan, and you can use that money to go buy the new house and then sell the house later, or rent it out, or you could go ahead and sell the house. And because you have like $200,000 in equity, you're actually like, if you use all of that for your down payment, you're actually going to reduce your monthly payment significantly. And so the bigger the down payment, the lower the monthly payment is going to be. And
Mm,
so that will be a significant help towards your next purchase.
okay. Yep, definitely. So it's definitely gonna help. Um, next question.
Mhm.
So if you are a current homeowner, right, and you're lucky enough to have one of these loans that can be assumed, so assumable mortgage, can they leverage this when they sell it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, let's say for example, you bought your house about 5 years ago. right?
Mhm.
And you did it under a FHA or a VA loan. Most, as far as I'm aware, most FHA and VA loans are assumable. And so what that means is if you got a 2.7% interest rate, you can throw it out there, right? And say, hey, our loan is assumable. And so when the realtors get involved, they can be like, hey, their loan is assumable. If you want the 2.5% or 2.5, 2.75%, that low rate, that low interest rate that they currently have, then as long as you qualify under the FHA assumable transaction, so you have to actually reach back out, to the lender and find out if you qualify. If you qualify, you can just take over that loan. Now, I
Mhm.
think the only difficulty or challenge in that is that you will have to pay for the difference, right? Say, for
Correct.
example, if the house is, for easy numbers, if the house is 200,000 and they only owe 100,000, you're going to be coming in with that down payment of 100,000. But if they've only bought it in the last 5 years, the likelihood is that if the home values haven't increased dramatically in that location and it's kind of stable, you may only have to come in with 30,000, right? Or even less. So it depends on the situation. And my thoughts are is that if you can get a 2.5%, 2.75% interest rate, dude, like you can't get that now if you come to one of us to try to do a new loan, but you can do it by assuming a loan, right?
Got it. Yep. Yep. And how does somebody go about finding these listings that have assumable loans?
Well, so there's websites out there nowadays, right? Like
Mm.
Assume List is one of those websites that you can go on to and find out where there are some assumable loans. A lot of realtors, if you're talking to realtors, again, Laura and myself are realtors. You can reach out to us. We can reach out to the sellers and find out if it is an assumable loan and how much it is. Oftentimes, we like if a realtor actually puts it in there that the loan's assumable, we can get all
Okay.
that details from the other realtor, right? So it's worth asking. It's worth asking. You're
Right.
not going to be able to do it on every transaction, but dude, if you can get it on one of these transactions and have that low monthly payment, it might
Mhm.
actually be worth it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So if you are a licensed real estate agent out there and you're talking to sellers, I mean, it's definitely a good question to ask them. Hey, do you have an FHA loan or a VA loan? Right.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
be something that you can help to market and help your seller to move their home faster and, potentially get them even more money. Right. So,
Hmm.
all right. So we talked we mentioned already that you can use a HELOC as a down payment on second home. Can you kind of talk a
Yep.
little bit about how does that look to qualify for that new home when you're doing that?
Yeah. So the thing is that if you're using a HELOC to qualify for a new home, that means you have to qualify for the current payment, the HELOC payment, and the new house payment. And so you're going to be looking at making sure the debt to income ratio is going to qualify with all of these different debts under you. I mean, like even if you're going to rent it, right? We can, include the rent if it's a brand new rental, like if you're just changing it, like you're just becoming a landlord, you're moving from your
Sure.
primary into a new one, you can use up to like 75% of the new lease agreement amount, right? And
Mhm.
so the thoughts is that there's ways where we can actually use a home equity loan and we can qualify you, but your debt to income ratio for the most part has to be under that 50% range, right? Approximately 50%, depending on the type of program that you go under. So of course you want to make sure you have that conversation with your loan originator, um, and go over the different plans that you have so that they can run the numbers for you and make sure you actually qualify.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, I just helped a borrower do that. They came to me for a HELOC. Um, Apparently, they were being denied by other lenders to get a HELOC, but they needed the HELOC for that purpose of buying a new home, right? And
Mhm, mhm.
they were able to do it within like 5 days, and yeah.
That's
So
awesome. That's
now,
so cool.
now they're on their way to buy their new home, and they are keeping their old house and they are renting it, right? So just like you said,
Sweet.
so yeah, yeah, there's definitely options out there to help you out. Just talk to a professional like us, and we'll give you your options. And then we talked about this a little bit earlier, but
Mhm.
what are the minimum qualifications to get a HELOC?
So, from a credit perspective, I recommend that you have 680 or higher.
Okay.
There are some programs out there where your interest rate is going to be higher, but you can go down to like 620, 640 ish.
Mhm.
Um, but dude, I think if you're in the 620, 640 ish, like work on your credit, right?
Mhm.
And really fix it up because that interest rate is going to change dramatically. So you're gonna want to fix it. It might take like somewhere between 3 to 6 months. Make your payments, reduce the amount of uh credit that you have out there, or extend like increase your credit lines, right? So that it looks like it's only 30% of the actual credit line. By doing some of those things, you're going to be increasing your credit score. And so my recommendation is, best case scenario, it should be above 680. I think that even if you're in the 800s, way better, right? The higher the better.
Mhm.
But my thoughts are is that try to stay above 680 on your credit score so that you can get a decent rate as well as a decent qualification, right? And then again, we talked a little bit about debt to income ratio. I
Mhm.
recommend you be under that 50% debt to income ratio, even when you that includes the HELOC or HE
Mhm.
loan that you're going to be taking out. And then finally, back to the loan to value stuff, right?
Mhm.
Again, 75% for investments. Sometimes you can go all the way up to 90% loan to value. It just depends on what you qualify for. So,
Okay.
again, talk to the professionals.
Now, question about income. What
Mhm.
if do you have to have income to qualify for HELOC?
So all the programs that I know of, you do.
Mhm.
There's this one program out there, I can't remember, with this institution that I used to know, where they
Mhm.
don't care. They didn't
Okay.
care.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, if you had income or not, as long as you
Right.
have equity.
Right.
But the thing is that institution that I worked with back in those days, they
Mm.
took a percentage of ownership in the property, and it
Oh.
has to be an investment property. So, like,
So
you
that's
might do you know one that currently doesn't require income?
no, I mean, the ones that I've been helping people with, they have to show income.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
that's same
so
here. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just a question I came across because I had a elderly lady, right, a grandma, ask
Mhm.
me, "Hey, I got this old house and it's free and clear or near it, right, near free and clear, but she needs to fix it up. It's,
Mm.
beat up and she wants to put an AC in it so she can, you know, live comfortably."
Okay.
And I said, "Well, do you have a job? Do you have income?" Right? And she didn't. She was retired, so I wasn't able to help her. But yeah, it's just a question. But I do have other programs. The program I do have, they do allow non-occupied co-bar, right?
Okay.
So meaning that you could, if you have someone who's willing to co-sign, right, and
Mm.
they show the income, they could help you qualify for that, right?
Yeah. No.
So I haven't tried that yet, but it is an option. So
Well, if someone wants to experiment, you're open to it, right?
oh, for sure, yeah, we'll give that a go. Um, yeah, yeah, okay. And then you mentioned DTI. I mean, this is not DTI. So one of the perks of a HELOC, right? One of the benefits of a HELOC,
Mhm.
if you have a lot of debt right now, right? You
Mhm.
meaning credit cards, car loans, other loans, right? You're
Mhm.
drowning in debt, right? And the recent taxes that just happened, right? If you owe taxes and you don't have any idea where you're gonna get this money from, but you have equity, right? One of the things that HELOCs are known for is debt consolidation, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so with my programs, I don't know about your programs, but if you have higher than 50% DTI, but the purpose of you pulling the HELOC is so that you can pay off those debts, that would reduce your DTI, right? Number one. So if your intention is, hey, I'm trying to use the HELOC, the equity in my home, so I can pay off these debts to lower my DTI, meaning that when you get the HELOC issued, they're automatically gonna divvy the money out to pay off those loans for you, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So that's going to lower your DTI, and potentially now you qualify. So we can do that for you. So
Yep.
yeah.
No, I love that. Like, there's clients that we do HELOCs to reduce their debt load, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
like give them a little bit more cash. Like, look, like, and I come from my background. Like, we were really poor when I was young, and having cash was really really tough, right? If you're in that kind of a situation where you can't even put food on the table because you have so much bills, right? It might be worth looking into doing a home equity loan and you know taking all of those bills, consolidating them into one where the
mhm.
monthly payment is a little bit cheaper so that you can
Correct.
actually afford to put food on the table in the meantime, right? Because the likelihood is 2 years from now, you'll probably get a better job and you'll be able to pay it back. So it might be better for you to do something like that. Now, I don't always recommend it because, like people's spending habits, like if they have bad spending habits,
True.
even after you do something like this and you still have bad spending habits, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
And so cash out refinance is the same, right?
Mm,
Even some like if you have credit cards that are like 25% and you have like 100,000 of credit card debt at 25%,
that's a lot.
doing a I mean the people are out there with that amount, right? I think the average amount is like somewhere between 25 to 50,000 per
Yeah.
household, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
so if you're in the $100,000 range, come like and you have equity in your home, you better just give us a call. We
Oh,
will
yeah,
work
yeah,
with you
for sure.
guys and figure something out.
Trading trading at 25%, 30% credit card for 9% all day,
Yeah,
right? Why would you not,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, HELOCs can help you out if you can qualify, right? So
Mhm,
definitely
mhm.
do it if you can. It's probably better than just throwing away your house to foreclosure, or you know, of course you could sell it, but then you're probably gonna go end up renting or something like that, right? So,
Mhm, mhm.
um, but yeah, yeah, just wanted to share that information that yeah, HELOCs can help you out in a number of ways. So, um, all right. So, any final thoughts towards our main topic of the video here? The people out there with these low interest rates that are, they feel trapped. They can't move anywhere. Any final thoughts on that you want to share?
No, I think, so like the whole golden handcuffs things, right? Everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different.
Hmm.
And that being said, like I think Laura and I both we consult with our clients all the time. If you're in, the Minnesota area for me or in the Florida area, reach out. We'll coach you and maybe not so much coach, but we'll provide you with the level of advice that we have that we've done for our clients in the past. And I think Laura, what states are you in from a lending perspective?
Wisconsin, Minnesota, California.
Yeah. And so we can definitely help you guys out, reach out. Secondly, we are realtors too. And so and this is like shameless plug, right? We're realtors. And so that means that we're, we're licensed in both mortgage and real estate. And we have teams in other organizations like CPAs and such. And so, and 1031 exchange guys to investors and such. And so if we can help you guys, we definitely will. So, don't hesitate to reach out. Like I know on my website, if you go on winwinfinancial.com and you just click schedule here, it'll go right into my Calendly. And you can schedule like a 30-minute consultation with me for free, right? And Laura, do you have something like that currently?
Yeah, I believe so. I
Just
mean,
DM, right?
yeah.
DM us.
I don't know. People just call me. People just call me. They don't even
Nice.
schedule. They just call
Nice.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So reach
that's
out,
fine too.
reach out.
That's fine too. Yeah, leave me a message if I don't pick up. But yeah, no. That basically wraps up today's episode, and our goal is to help give those homeowners right now who are in that kind of lucky, but maybe not so lucky situation of hey, I got a super low rate. I'm living good, but I need a little bit more room, or I do kind of want to move, right? How do I do that,
Mhm.
right? So hopefully we gave you some information that you can use to make a decision. If you have more questions for your specific scenario, because like Johnny said, everybody has a unique situation and not everybody's in the same boat. So
Mhm.
reach out to us. We can have a free 10-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute conversation, see how we can help you out. And if we can't help you, I mean, we may have somebody else who can help you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So true.
so yeah, that is it. We will catch you in the next episode. If you have any burning topics that you would like us to discuss, drop us a comment, send us a message on our YouTube, on our Facebook, and we'll get working on that for you. So,
Yeah.
all
Don't
right,
forget to like, subscribe, and share this with all your friends.
for
We're here to
sure.
help.
All right, talk to you guys later. See you next time.
All right. Later.